Well, Noah, man, I think when we first met you, the thing that really allowed us to just gravitate and connect together was the just synchronicities of story and where we come from and what you do. And I'd love for you to just share that with the audience of where you came from and how you've gotten to where you are today with the Big Possible and what that vision is too.
It was actually really funny because the first word I said, it was like when we started talking, I'm like, yeah, I'm in Costa Rica right now. And Hillman just goes off like, oh, yeah. I was there.
Pura vida, baby.
Yeah. So no, I mean, the synchronicity was flowing like right out of the gate there. But sure. You know, it's a fascinating thing, that word synchronicity, because it's something that was lacking in my life for so long as I was working in a full-time job. I had that like kind of security blanket. Life was routine, life was mundane. And even though my job was cool, I was doing things on paper. Everyone's like, oh man, you work at this cool agency. You're doing all this creative stuff like design, video. I mean, that's really cool. You know, inside that showing up at the same place every day, 9 to 5, sort of losing my friend circle, losing my testosterone, there's something had to change, you know. And I look back when I was running my old business, you know, I had a production company for 6 years doing feature films. We did short films for actors. But the highlight of that was when I was hosting dinner parties and networking parties. It was bringing people together, and there was constant flow of new opportunities, interesting programs, interesting projects just popping up. And I was like, you know what, that's what I want to get back into. And so I think the other element that was really missing was this element of travel. And so when I look back, the biggest breakthroughs in my life have always happened when I've been on some kind of adventure, when I leave the comfort zone, when I put myself in an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, that's where growth occurs.
Novelty. Yeah, there's sights, there's sounds, there's culture shock, there's interesting tastes. People that you don't normally get to meet are coming up to you because you have this big sign on your head that says I'm a foreigner. Yeah. And you know, I'm just curious. I'm looking for things. And before you know it, like that's where suddenly when you start to say yes to these kinds of opportunities, that's when the universe starts to respond and sends you really cool opportunities. And you don't have to say yes to everything, but being in those situations was what I was realizing after sitting here processing a lot of this, like, okay, where can I take my life that it's really lighting me up to the fullest, where I'm doing a project that I'm full-hearted involved with every single day. When I wake up, I'm passionate to get into it, work until the end of the day, and I'm having fun the entire time. And that's when I got this idea, thanks to a lot of trial and error, bashing my head against the wall, and also working with my coach to do these retreats around the world, where we'd go to an exotic destination, obviously in a posh, immaculate villa, and then bring really cool people together, all with this intention of challenging everyone there to think about how they can bust through their biggest, like, wild, most audacious goal, or, you know, whatever that might be, you know, and then leave that experience with some very actionable steps in which to make that happen, as well as a community that they can lean on and provide some leverage to actually hit that goal. So that was kind of the formation of this project called The Big Possible. And then started talking with you guys about it, and you're like, this is what we want to get involved with. So it's really been an awesome ride.
So Noah, I think that there are two parts to there are multi-parts that I think that are really important. One of the most critical ones that you mentioned that I think requires a little more depth of exploration is the saying yes, right? There are people who are consistently thinking that this is the year, I'm going to do this thing, or gosh, what would life have been like if I had chosen this path differently? Or when I get this thing done, then I'm going to do that thing that I dream of. Yeah. And it's constantly either hindsight or it's far foresight. And what is it that takes the individual? What does it take for that individual to say, actually, no, it's now. Yeah. Now is when I need to do something that is unfamiliar, that I may not have clarity around. It's not a step-by-step, dot to dot, but I know that if I begin moving in a direction that forces, my own forces, being my own 2 feet or my brain or the universe or whatever your belief system might be, is actually going to compel further direction. Like when you've had people come to these events, what has been that initial step of coming to the event, right?
Yes. It takes a level of commitment that is sometimes it's enough is enough. That's a big motivator.
Okay.
But it really comes down to that intention, the intention for finally stepping into something that has been put off to the wayside, finally realizing that the path that you're on isn't fulfilling, or that you're meant for more, and you're ready to embrace the risk, and then realizing that the risk is actually a signal that you're pointed in the right direction. And so often we get caught up in the fear that something is going to go wrong. And there's a thing that I've had this mindset issue for a long time, which is there's 2 types of people. There's the guessers, and then there's the askers, right? Or the, you could say the doers or whatever, right? And what I've realized is that I would put myself in a loop by guessing all the bad outcomes that are going to show up. And what happens, like, it's as simple as, like, if I want to go crash on the couch, for example, I'm going to be in LA in 2 weeks, and I need to, crash at some French couches. And I could sit here and come up with all the excuses, all these potential possible reasons why, Helene's couch is not going to be available. Oh, maybe her brother's in town. Oh, maybe, maybe she's had a long week. Oh, maybe I said something that offended her. Whereas I could eliminate all of those doubts simply by asking. And when you realize that your ask is actually a gift, that you taking a risk is actually beneficial to the other party or to your future self, that's when you start to actually get feedback from your own experience that says, hey, actually, when I take the risk, when I try to do something bigger, I actually don't fall on my face. Even if I do fall on my face, you know what? That's actually a great opportunity for me to get some feedback, learn some lessons, get freaking strong. Like, all of those things are actually beneficial, and that's what's really wild. So,
what's interesting about that, Noah? I love this. I had a coach way too late in life basically tell me this. I say too late. I'm glad it happened. There's no regrets, but basically said to me, okay, Hillman, look at your hand. And I said, okay, I'm looking at my hand. He says, are you your hand? I said, no, I have a hand, but I'm not my hand. He goes, okay, your mind is there to protect you. You are not your thoughts. The things that are going through your head of, oh gosh, does Noah think I'm smart? Gosh, does Ned, is Ned enjoying this conversation? Like, that's just your brain trying to kind of keep you safe, but you are not the thoughts that go through your head. So when you get all of these self-limiting belief systems or all this judgment around what is someone saying or all that, it's to keep you safe, but it's not who you are. So being able to separate now, when that happens, I actually separate myself and I'm like, okay, there you go again. You're doing that thing you're doing. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. And it's fascinating too, because, I had a guest on my podcast, was talking about this concept of, even though you have those limiting thoughts that show up and you recognize that, okay, this isn't me, there's still a process that you have to, like, look at that part of you that has that fear with a little bit of love, a little bit of forgiveness, and say, you know what, buddy, I get where you're coming from. That's okay. But trust me on this one, it's going to be way better if we just sink our teeth into this and go for it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. It's the age old, right? Like, be, do, have, right?
Yes.
And it's the, there's Dr. Ben Hardy. He's actually coming out with a book now. And I was really lucky to be able to read the manuscript before he's publishing it. And it's about being your future self now. And what happens in life, and what I've seen, is people go, well, I can't make this decision because I have X, Y, and Z that's going on. Or they say, oh, well, once this happens, I can actually make that decision. When in reality, if you want to be that person, you can act as if you are that person today, do the things that they do. And it's wild how crazy life in the universe just aligns, and you start to have the things that that person has, as opposed to sitting in this kind of like everyday, okay, well, when I have this much money in the bank, when I have this title, when I sell my company, as opposed to saying, well, no, I have these goals and these aspirations. I am now going to be that person and actually do the things that I know that that person would do in this situation, which is make the decision, go for it, and act as if. And it's wild how crazy life, like life in the universe just align to just say, all right, if you're doing these things, you must be this person. It's time for you to have those things. And I love it.
Absolutely. You know what's wild about that too is so often we sell ourselves short in terms of what we're actually capable of too. So when you think about, if you listen to your mind like saying, oh, but I'm not ready for this, I'm not ready for that, what ends up happening is we're starting to settle for the scraps from the table rather than actually reaching for what we're truly capable of. And that's when it's really crazy. That was a conversation I had with my coach starting this business. You know, when I was originally looking for the next path into entrepreneurship to leave my day job, I was building a coaching business. I published a book, and it was all of these things that I thought were logically the next step. I had to prove some credibility. I had to get a client base. I had to make sure the income was in place before I took the leap. And so all of those things were going through my head. But inside, it was like, it was eating me up. It was like, I got these first clients, and it was absolutely soul sucking. I realized that that's not for me. There's professionals that are really good at coaching, at doing these one-on-one things and helping people like on an individual basis. But for me, I realized that this isn't the level I should be playing at. And it was really difficult when you're trying to build something, you're trying to push really hard through something, but it's not what you're meant for. And so even though, you know, it seems like it's the next step in the ladder, sometimes we have to skip the baby steps and actually reach for that thing that we're actually truly capable of. And that's really what the Big Possible is about, is that question, okay, if you're playing the game at the biggest, what does that look like? Yeah. If you're actually living your fullest, most powerful level, what does that look like? And then what do you need to actually, if you can't get there right now, who can you bring in your network, in your circle of influence? Yeah. What skills can you start to master so that you're going to be able to actually hit that level?
Tell us about the experience.
So we just finished an incredible sold out retreat in Mexico that was, it blew my mind in terms of how powerful the connection process was with, because really, if we think about the three pillars of what this program's about, it's getting out of the comfort zone in a really cool exotic destination where you're open to think of new perspectives, you're open to receive cool new ideas, and then be pampered the whole time. So it's like a cashless environment. You show up and it's like everything's taken care of. You've got incredible food, you've got cool activities, you're stoking a little bit of adventure, having fun. I mean, when's the last time we like had a full-on belly laugh while we're talking about business? And that's what we want to create. And so there's that element of it, but there's also this element that I think is probably the strongest component, and that's the community building. So at the retreats, you're surrounded by people who are like-minded, they're purpose-driven, they're doers, they're action takers. They've made that commitment and says, okay, I believe I'm capable of doing something more, and I'm going to make that investment to show up, to be in a situation where I'm supported by other people who are also there. That we're not making friends by proximity here. We're making friends based on value sets, and the intentions are all aligned that together we're going to achieve something incredible. And how can I, you know, as an attendee, how can I as a speaker, how can I as a facilitator, how can I help everybody there achieve that? Because when you really look about the networks that we have, there's so much power. And watching the people leave the retreat with new business partnerships form, watching them literally map out a process for how they're going to achieve their next lead. And we had one artist come in literally after the retreat. She went and she booked like 2 gallery appointments. She's got a party coming up. She's got all these events happening. And it was just that spark of being around all these other people talking about, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to go. What do I do to get there? And by that, what happens is we start to uncover the map that we don't know. If we're thinking of ourselves as a pioneer, we're reaching for this unknown. And now we can share maps with other people who have charted a similar course, maybe in a different realm, in a different industry. And then you put all those together, you're able to have much more clarity and perspective on those goals.
Yeah.
So and then that leads to that third piece, which is, all right, now giving yourself permission to really set an intention for your life. That's true with what you really desire. And then utilizing that 4 days at the retreat to build that map while you're having fun, of course, then find the people and the clues to help you get there.
Yeah. And I love it's an intimate setting, right? It's not 50,000 people in a stadium where, and it's like less than 5% of people go to a seminar and actually take action on the things that were said. Right.
Yeah.
One of the things Hillman and I always talk about is you can get an ROI on anything if you actually just do the things that someone told you, right? Like you can get a return on investment on your book if you just took one of the things and actually did it. But I think even more than that, the intimacy and the nature of the community of people that are actually not just like, hey, I'm going to this so I can go one level up, like one logical level up. It is people reaching for their highest self and aligning with their highest self, which allows you to, whether you walked into the situation knowing that that was what you were doing, maybe you were just like, hey, this is a cool retreat, it's, here. But when you are around that and the energies all align of like, hey, we're going after this huge thing, and you can start to align your values, your vision, the missions together, and you have 25 people as opposed to 25,000, you now have the ability to really create true partnerships and true community and actually hold each other accountable as opposed to walking out of it and just being a face in the crowd, which I think is the most brilliant piece of what you all are doing.
Yeah. And how many times you go to the conference, you have this amazing conversation and you have, oh, wait, the thing's starting. And then you don't get to see them again because all you got is a business card. And then you go home and like, what was the conversation we had? And everything just slips out.
Or so the presenters, right?
Yeah.
They're off on the stage somewhere and you're like, gosh, but I had a really specific question, or I just wanted to give some feedback because this thing that you said really moved me, but off they go on the plane, an hour after they've spoken and they're not available.
Yeah. And talk about that. Like you guys are going to be speaking at Morocco where it's like you have the presentation, but then you'll be around everybody for the entire time. We'll be riding camels together. Someone's going to be able to come up to you and say like, hey, Hillman, I was thinking about what you said. Here's the problem I've got. And you can have a conversation and listening to some music or something. And then everybody starts to just come up and organically have those conversations. And
that's, I got to tell you, as a speaker, that's something I'm really looking forward to, because when you prepare a talk, you're preparing for a general audience. You're preparing with, try to give as much impact as you can in a limited amount of time. And every time I do that, I leave the stage thinking, gosh, but that person I was talking to earlier, I wish I could get back to them on this other thing, because there's a connection here that they don't have because I only had an hour to do this. Or, gosh, I really wish I could understand what you heard from what I said and be able to calibrate it based upon where you're going. If you're if you're an artist who's going to galleries, or if you're somebody who's starting a business, or if you're an individual who's, not even that far along, or someone who's been at it for 20 years and knows that there's another shift that's possible for them, being able to immerse with folks is a mutually gratifying experience because we become participants, right? We become one of the hive, which is fantastic. But that's an important piece around how you're curating these events, because sure, you could make, to Ned's point, you could go get a stadium somewhere and fill it with 1,500 people and create something, right? But you've really chosen to curate this, and there's an application process. and there are a limited amount of folks who are invited or who are actually participating. How does that process look? And tell me, with respect to Morocco, is there any availability for anybody to still hop on this camel?
Yeah.
There you go.
When's this episode go live?
We're going to go live on Monday, what is that date, Ned? The 18th? Is that what that is?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So we're
we'll
recording over the weekend.
Yeah.
We'll have a few spots left. I think we've got about 6 right now. So I think there's definitely going to be some spots available. And my job really is, like you said, it's that curation process. So it's my job to not allow the people that are not coming with the right intention, and to make sure the people that are coming with that right intention feel that this is right for them. So ultimately, the curation process, I interview everybody. So I have either a phone or a Zoom chat with everybody that's coming through. Obviously talk through what their goals are, what they're looking to achieve, and also what they can bring to the community. And I'm ultimately looking for that diverse skill sets, the diverse experience, but everything really comes down to intention, with especially community being a focus. So if someone is there just to have a great vacation, I'm sorry, this isn't right for you. If someone is looking for something convenient that's just like in San Diego or something, sorry, this isn't right for you.
Yeah.
We're looking for people who are willing to take a big adventure, have that memorable experience, something that they can look back and say, like, this was one of the coolest life-defining moments of my entire existence. And not just something like, it was just some conference in Nebraska and it was cool. But we want that's what we're trying to create is something that is just, it's got the wow factor. It's got the ability to make that transformation, and then also, connect the people with people that are, they have to have that desire to connect as well. And so that's really what the process is. My job is to just jump on the phone, talk to the people that are interested, make sure they're a right value set for the community. And then, they're coming with that intention of, all right, it's time to make a big change. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to embrace my big possible. And then, and all fits, then we just talk about all the logistics. And, I'm happy to do a massive discount for all the listeners, coming from you guys. So that's on the table. Just say that you heard it from Ned and Hillman, and we'll definitely get you a good break on the ticket price.
Hey, Noah, first off, we appreciate that. And I hope everybody heard that. Massive discount from Noah on this upcoming event where Ned and I will be there, Noah will be there. Can you talk a little bit, 2 things. The other folks who are, I hesitate to call them speakers, but the other folks who will be there facilitating, who they are and what they're bringing to the table. And then I'm going to ask you, if it doesn't violate any confidentiality, if you can share some of the experiences coming out of Mexico, in addition to the artist, just some of the things that people gave you, because I know you got a ton of fantastic feedback, and I know that the community is still together and still working together in the as an outcome of the event itself. So first off, who's going to be there?
Yeah. So our speakers, leaders, we've got you two as well. We have Andrew Miller, who you also had on the podcast recently. And this guy,
genius.
Funny story. I met Andrew through a cold email, and he is now one of my best friends. It's just, that's what happens when you just take the risk, right? Because I could have easily said, oh, I'm spamming this guy, I don't know if I should do this. But you know what? I just did it. And, you just rip the Band-Aid off and you just go. He responds, wait, you're doing a retreat in Puerto Vallarta? I live in Puerto Vallarta. And we got to jump on a phone call. So we jumped on a call, and immediately he's like, okay, when you come to PV, come stay at my place. So I stayed at his place with him and his wife, Taryn, who's also going to be facilitating at the event. And so Andrew is a startup growth expert, really knows his stuff. But the best part about how he presents is he's really tactical. He'll give you exactly what's going to work, like right now, not the stuff that's like, okay, yeah, this is going to work when you have 300,000 followers on your Instagram. Right, yeah. It's like, here's the first thing you got to do. And then here's how you do it. here's the tools that you can do it on the cheap. Here's the tools that you can do it if you want to spend a little bit of money. And I mean, he's already just been so pivotal in helping me strategize a lot of the marketing for the event as well. But so yeah, Andrew will be there. Taryn, she is a wellness expert. She does holistic wellness for corporate. So she teaches companies how to have a really healthy remote work environment. And so she'll be sharing a lot of insights around how to take care of yourself as a founder, how to take care of yourself as an entrepreneur, as well as like, just not just the mindset, but also the diet, the physical things like taking a break during work, practical little exercises you can do. And then we'll have Amanda Rue. This woman is incredible. She's actually a dominatrix by night, brand consultant by day. Such a cool story. She used to work at Vice. She's really did a lot of high-end advertising, brand consulting. And then what happened, she left to really pursue this idea of pleasure, and finding how to incorporate pleasure in your life, as well as tackle some of these really deep things like shame that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. How do you find these elements? And then her story is really incredible, because so often that shame that we have for ourselves, we don't realize that, wait, actually these things that I'm ashamed about are things I can actually find pride in. I can actually use this as fuel to improve. And with her story, it's going to really help unlock a lot of how people deal with these small thoughts in their head. She's also going to talk about some financial abundance stuff and everything like that. But I really like her diverse approach in terms of the business side of things, finance side of things, pleasure, and then also incorporating this element of healing and trauma and dealing with trauma. So she'll be pretty fantastic. But I'm saving the best for last, because without a native Moroccan, the experience would just kind of be like you're at a little resort. So we have a chef, Yasmine Kes. She's been featured in ABC, Vogue, Cozy Meal. Really, she cooks for like celebrities like David Lynch and all kinds of just really amazing high profile people. So she'll be there. She's been a dear friend of mine for many years, and she'll be there creating an adventure for the mouth. So you'll have all the flavors of Morocco, tagines, you'll have all the vegetables, the spices. And so she'll create a series of, obviously the breakfast, the meals, snacks throughout the day. We have some, wine sponsors, alcohol sponsors. Then we'll also obviously do some cool experiences as well. But I know I'm taking a long-winded answer here because I'm just so fired up about it.
Great,
but
you're taking us into the experience.
Yeah. But then there's also, let's talk about the guests real quick and just kind of some of the stories that come out of it. So generally speaking, we have three types of profiles that show up. We have on one side, very successful 7-figure business owners, founders, people in the entertainment space, who are really looking for that perspective, a perspective shift, a new community outside of their niche. And then there's another tier, which is people that are in a full-time job somewhere, making great money. Like, for example, we had a developer from Coinbase. Then, some other people that are in a job, but they're looking for a creative outlet. They're also looking for a community. And then we have the early stage founders, solo practitioners, people that are on the creative side of things, either artists or DJs. And they're really looking for that supportive community and a place where they can exercise their talents, and then like a roadmap to remove themselves from the day-to-day and really scale. So those three together, it's incredible what happens out of that. So case in point, we had one guy, he's a developer, walk out of there with a new business with one of the guys that's got a big agency. And together they started this new consulting business where they're helping people unpack their code to figure out troubleshooting things. And they're already like signed up like 4 clients. It's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what else? I have people sending me pictures that they're hanging out now together in LA. It's just after the event. We have a dinner in it while I'm back in LA with all the people that were from LA. We're all going to get together for a dinner in 2 weeks. And yeah, just that alone is just really inspiring to see that it's working, you know, that people are building stuff together and they're supporting each other. So I hope that's enough to give you a taste.
If it's not, then it's not the right person in my mind. I think you probably heard yourself reflected in any of the things Noah just said. And here's one piece that I have to add, that going back to what you said earlier, which is that often we're looking for likeness. We're looking for, well, what is the thing that's closest to what I'm doing now? And the big possible occurs from taking big leaps outside of the comfort zone, right? It's about getting to the edge. There's a Kurt Vonnegut quote that's I'm gonna ruin it, but you can go Google it and figure out what he actually said. But it was something along the lines of, I'd rather live life from the edge, because from the edge you can see everything going on around you, rather than living from the center, right? Where you're just kind of in this bubble. And once you get past the bubble, the expanse that occurs both in the development of your network, the development of your mind. I love that this is both a tactile and a multisensory experience for people, and that it's immersive. Because here's the thing, you dip into an event for one day, you haven't even shed any of the skin that you've been wearing for the last year. And what have we been wearing for the last 24 months? Yeah. You know what I mean? From world events to COVID to politics to, I don't even want to get into it, but you can't shed one iota of that in one day. Over 4 days, you get to a place where you're actually allowing yourself to be immersive and to have a great experience. So folks who would want to have a conversation with you about the event and either learn about it or potentially apply and attend, where do they go? How do they do it? We'll drop this in show notes as well, but let's be as specific as possible, because I know this event, let's give the date and everything that we can around what's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. So it's May 18th, 21st. The villa is going to be open from the 17th to the 22nd. So if you have a long flight, you can plan to arrive a day in to shed that jet lag. And then to basically apply and jump on a call with me, easiest way to do that is just go to thebigpossible.com/retreats. You can see all of the different retreats we have. Morocco is the one that's coming up I'm most excited about. We actually have another one in Mykonos that's already getting close to selling out. So I would definitely suggest get into Morocco while you can. And then there's also, let's see, you can also just send me an email, noah@thebigpossible.com. I read everything. So that's like the fastest way. If you're just lazy and you're just hearing this and you just want to connect, let's go. That's it.
I love it. Well, man, Noah, dude, always a pleasure. I know Hillman and I are excited to come to Morocco and just go on this journey with you as well. But Noah Scott, The Big Possible, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely, guys. Can't wait to see you in person.
Yeah, see you soon, Noah.
All right, brother.
All right.
Go.